Well, hello there and welcome to the Webinar Talk Show. I'm Eliz Green.
And I'm Tom Singer. And as we are wrapping up March, Eliz and I are wrapping up our third season of the Webinar Talk Show. The first season was 2 quarters long. And then last year, we decided in the fourth quarter, we were going to make every 3 months a new, fresh season with its own theme. So today is the last day of season 3.
Whew. Who could have thought that it would go so fast? And our theme has been communicating value. And what an amazing guest we have to wrap up this season.
Yes, absolutely. I'm really excited because today we have Jay Baer. And if you're not familiar with Jay, you really should be. He is one of the most prolific writers, speakers, and podcasters who is out there. And what he does is he helps big companies gain and keep customers. And the way he does this is by combining marketing and customer experience. And he has an amazing team that he works with. They do great work. And Jay is one of my favorite people in the speaking business. So Jay Baer, welcome to the Webinar Talk Show.
Woo!
What is up? Delighted to close out season 3, which seems incredibly arbitrary. It feels like you're just making seasons up whenever you want, which is one of the great things. I am old enough to remember, and you two are as well, when a season meant a year, right? Like season 11 of Happy Days meant year 11 of Happy Days, and now every Thursday is a new season. I'm very confused, but congratulations on season 3.
And that's what we like about hosting our own program is we make the rules.
Absolutely.
Here we are in season 416 of the Webinar Talk Show.
So, Jay, your whole brand is all around convince and convert, right? So it's one of those things that's so important to all of us in business is we've got to get people to trust us, to like us, to be convinced to buy us, and then we've got to convert them to the bottom line. Can you talk a little bit about your work in this area?
Well, I mean, Convince and Convert is not just the brand; it's the company that I founded and lead, our consulting firm. When I started this firm 13 years ago, I knew I didn't want it to be Jay Baer and Associates because then I knew we were going to do a lot of consulting work in addition to what I do as a speaker and an author, etc. If you're Jay Baer and Associates, then you are setting yourself up for a circumstance where every client is like, how come Jay Baer isn't working on my project? So you are essentially limiting your scalability with the name of your company. So there was no way I was going to do that. And fun fact, this is going to get a little nerdy for just a second. Hang in there, kids. Buckle up. The reason it's called Convince and Convert is that my firm was initially, at the very beginning, intended to be a conversion rate optimization firm, which is a consultancy that you would hire to say, we have this many people coming to our website or our e-commerce store or our landing page. How do we get more of those people to fill out a form, buy things, etc., to actually really improve conversions from X to Y? I did a lot of work like that in my previous firm. So that's why it's called Convince and Convert. But what happened, is I started writing a blog in 2008, and I would write 3 blog posts a week about conversion rate optimization and 1 blog post a week about social media. And turned out that nobody read any blog posts about conversion rate optimization, but everybody wanted to read blog posts about social media, and that's how we became a social media strategy firm.
Well, I imagine that's part of the strategy, is actually paying attention to what people want.
Well, I mean, look, here we are 13 years into this in this firm, and I've been in digital since 93, right? So literally 28 years now. Tom knows this story that I started in the internet business when domain names were free. You could just get whatever you want, right? And true story, my partners and I, in my very first company in 1993, we registered Budweiser.com. Anheuser-Busch calls us and says, we want to build the very first website for Budweiser, and you have the domain name. Yes, we do. We'd like to have it. Well, we're not just going to give it to you. We negotiated, and we sold Budweiser.com to Anheuser-Busch, again, 1993, for 50 cases of beer. Now, I want to emphasize, though, in my defense, we had in the contract bottles, not cans.
Okay.
Bottles. So,
Sure.
because, you know,
Okay.
you got to
They
class
last
it up.
longer. Better
Class it
shelf
up.
life. Yeah.
Class it up, exactly. So I've been doing this a long time, and so you're exactly right with the question, which is one of the reasons I'm able to do what I do and have been doing it now for almost 30 years in a business that digital marketing, digital customer experience very much favors the flavor of the day, is that you have to sort of have a sense of what clients are going to need 2 years from now and kind of skate to where that puck is going to be now. If you're always chasing trends, then it's really hard to be an effective consultant.
Mm-hmm.
I also love the hockey metaphor. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Yeah, typical Wisconsin. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
yes.
So our
hockey
theme
dad.
for this-
I come by naturally.
There you go. Our theme for this third season has been communicating your value. And I think as somebody who has worked in the area that you've worked on, you know, for so long, that's a super important thing for brands and for individuals in the social media and digital world to be able to do.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about communicating value.
I think one of the keys to communicating value, Tom, bless you, is to always focus on the problems you solve, not the services you offer. And one of the smart things that we did in my firm the last time we took a whole new swing at our website, which is convinceandconvert.com, is at the very top of the page, you know, in the main navigation, there's a link to a thing that says 17 problems. And literally it's a whole long web page, which is the 17 problems that we solve for our clients. And it's one of our most trafficked pages.
That's
right?
really
so yeah,
smart.
we do content marketing strategy and social media strategy and digital strategy and customer experience strategy, and we can make you a podcast and we can probably make you a pot roast if you want one. But those are all services, right? They're not actually problems. What I like to tell people is this: nobody in the history of the world has ever actually needed socks. But everybody in the history of the world has needed their feet to be warmer. And when you're communicating value, you need to talk about you need warmer feet, not I am in the sock business.
Wow. So that's got me thinking about my own website and its shortcomings.
Right?
We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that in season 4 of the Webinar Talk Show.
Well,
So
you said, go ahead, Tom.
Well, I was going to say, so as I'm thinking about this is probably something that many brands, companies, and individuals aren't doing, is addressing the problems they solve right up front. I mean, I made a little note in the margin, go fix this.
Yeah, right. No kidding.
Well, and I think it does have some real implications for speakers. The legendary Nito Cobain told me something a year or so ago. We're at a mastermind together, and he said, you know, look, overbilling yourself as a speaker actually sells what you do short. All right. What you do is solve complex business problems that make people millions of dollars. You just often do it while holding a microphone. So to say I'm a speaker actually isn't really what you do. It's just a conveyance mechanism.
Right. Yet another note in the margin. Go fix that. Here, though, we really focus on our event professional colleagues.
Yes.
I think this has to be, I'm on the chapter board for NSA Wisconsin. I'm involved at the national level in planning the conference for NSA, National Speakers Association. This whole what problem do you solve? We talk about it as speakers a lot. But I would imagine associations and corporations, in order to get that value delivered and people know what that value is, you have to look at the problems. How do you work with clients to figure out what their problem solving is?
Yeah, I think part of it is to continuously ask people, and we do this with clients all the time, certainly in preparation for when I do events, and also for the work that we do on the consulting side, um, is continuously ask people to validate and defend their success metrics. So
Ooh.
what I mean by that is this: if you say to a client or prospective client, um, tell me an area where you believe the business is really healthy. I'll
Mm-hmm.
say, well, we're doing a great job of getting more customers. Okay, well, what's the great, congratulations. What's the mathematical evidence of that, right? So it can't just be
Mm.
storytelling. So tell me why you think that's true. Well, we've got a 23% increase in new customers this year. Okay, well, why is that good? Well, because we have more customers. I understand that, but why is that good, right? Because are all
Mm-hmm.
those customers profitable? How long do you keep those customers? People tend to have a very short term and very specific understanding of both problems and solutions. And the more you can
Mm-hmm.
start to sort of pull the thread on that sweater and demonstrate that, oh, well, something that might seem like a win is actually a loss, and
Mm.
vice versa, the more you can drill down to the actual pain point. And I
Mm-hmm.
find this to be so true with meeting planners and events professionals. They say, well, we need a customer service speaker.
Okay.
And I know why they say that, right? Because that's how the industry thinks, right? The industry thinks in terms of pull downs on bureau sites, right? They think of a they
Yes.
think of a taxonomy and a categorization of speaker expertise.
Mm-hmm.
You don't actually need a customer service speaker, and I'm going to throw up my air quotes here. What you need is a strategy for people sitting in the room physically or online, to make more money next year by reducing customer defection.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you actually need, right? And that may not be a customer service speaker. So, I understand
Mm.
that people sort of they want to shop for speakers based on how Google thinks, but that's not always the best way to do it.
Right.
Well, you bring up an interesting point, and that is whether it's those of us who are speakers or meeting planners who are planning an event, we try to put everything into a simple box. We
Yeah,
want it to be we want it to be blue and this big and on the shelf. But the problems that we face often aren't a blue box on the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's right.
how do you get those meeting planners to think outside of that box when looking for ways to make their event better and actually impact the people who are in the audience?
Yeah, I always encourage, um, when we're in sort of the conversation with events professionals and meeting planners, to really talk about what's the state of the organization, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's, and not necessarily as an institution, but in terms of the attendees of this event, like where are they? Like how has the last year or two been? And certainly in pandemic times, it's a more important and interesting conversation than ever before, because there are organizations and associations and categories of business that are just flat killing it, right? So
Right.
just like in a 30-day period, I did a keynote for the RV Association, crushing it, the Fishing Association,
Right.
crushing it, and the Boat Dealers Association. You can't
Right.
even buy a boat. I don't care how much money you have. No boats are
This
for
is
sale anymore.
true.
All boats are sold out, right, for the year. And that's a much different conversation
Mm-hmm.
than an event for. I did one recently for college bookstores.
Oh,
Ooh.
Tough gig, right? People aren't even on campus. They're not even on campus. They've all had to build websites for the first time. Literally
Mm-hmm.
for the first time, build a website. Because why would you need a website if your bookstore is in the union, right? So
Right.
it's such I've enjoyed this year as a consultant, as a speaker, more than any other year in my career by
Hmm.
far. Number one, never had to leave the house, which is great. And number two, um, just everybody's business is so disrupted,
Mm-hmm.
either good or bad, that and there is a willingness, I think, amongst audiences to do the hard work, right?
Mm-hmm.
To not just think about we need a customer service speaker, but to say, okay, you either had a great year or a terrible year. You got to figure out what's going to happen next, because it has existential consequences for everybody in that room. So I think it's been great, loving it.
So, Jay, I understand that you have been doing some research
Ooh.
around events,
Yeah.
virtual events, and what companies and associations are going to be doing in 2021, 2022, and beyond. And I
Yes.
know you haven't released that yet, but we want you to talk about it today.
I would be
Please.
happy to. My team at Convince and Convert does a lot of custom research for companies, organizations, and we put out several research projects every year. This new one is the 2021 Events Satisfaction Study, probably be released in the next 7 days or so.
Mm,
I'll send y'all a note, and maybe sometime in season 4 we can we can link to it in a comment or something
absolutely.
on Facebook. But we partnered with Attendify. Attendify is a data-driven events platform, both for virtual events and for live events. And we surveyed hundreds and hundreds of meeting planners and marketers about what they're planning to do with events, where they're satisfied and dissatisfied with the state of kind of events technology, et cetera. Very germane to us here. 80% of companies did more virtual events, i.e., e.g., webinars, last year than ever before. 8 out of 10 companies, more than ever. So the idea of sort of webinar fatigue, it is real. You are not imagining that. The real question, though, I think for a lot of people is, okay, well, what happens next? And so we asked that very specifically. And it turns out that more than 60% of companies plan to have at least one in-person event with 100 or more attendees this year. And amongst larger companies, nearly half plan to have 3 or more significant in-person events this year. Now, I think it's safe to say for most people, there has not been that many of those events so far here at the end of the first quarter, which makes me think, if 40% of big companies are going to have 3 or more events and it's already April, when are these events going to happen exactly? So what I've been talking about with my team and my representatives, et cetera, is third and fourth quarter are going to be bonkers. We're going to be doing Christmas Eve events because if everybody's going to try and fit all these in, I don't know when they're all going to get fit in, but it's going to be out of control. And everybody is excited about getting back into the live events business. But of course, as I know you've talked about here on the show, and you probably will in season 4, focused on innovation, is this idea of hybrid events, right? And what does that look like? And, I know the National Speakers Association is going to do a hybrid version of their conference this summer. And of course, there's different ways to think about that, right? Is it a live event and you can tune in virtually? Is it a virtual event with a live studio audience kind of peeping through a window? There's just a lot of ways to skin that cat, and of course it's expensive, right? So the reason events weren't hybrid in the past is that to have a real camera and bandwidth in every breakout session, what have you, is a pricey proposition. So I think a lot of meeting planners and events professionals are like, yeah, we like the idea of a hybrid event and letting more and more people tune in, even if it's from home, but we got to pay for that somehow.
Right. It is, having been a part of those conversations for NSA, it is daunting to think about really serving 2 audiences. And if you're going to do that, doing both well, not saying we're focusing on our in-person and these people over here are kind of along for the ride, or vice versa, but really fully diving in. Any thoughts on what is going to make a hybrid event, because you focus on customer experience, highly valuable in that attendee experience?
I could be wrong. It happens a lot.
But I doubt it.
Happens a lot. No, it happens a lot.
I'm going to bet on you, though.
Thank you, Tom. It is hard for me, and I'm glad you asked the question the way you did. It is hard for me to fathom a scenario where a truly hybrid event, right, where you've got people online and people in the room contemporaneously, where that is a win-win for everybody. Like I just don't see that being a 1 + 1 = 3. I don't know how it could be. You're by definition you are taking something away from the live audience because you've got a nod to the virtual, and the virtual audience doesn't have the same experience as the live people. I just think it's 1 + 1 = 1.8. Ultimately, I don't. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see how you can do it so it's better for both. What I've been advising my clients, and we do a fair bit of consulting now on virtual events, is okay, why can't you have a hybrid event that isn't simultaneous? Right? Why can't you have the virtual event either be the lead up to the physical event or after the physical event, right? With highlights and speaker Q&As and things like that, right? Why does it have to be at the same time? To me, that sort of decoupling of the experiences gives you a real opportunity to have it be great on both sides. That's just kind of what I've been noodling on.
That's an interesting thought. And, I could make the argument the other way about the thrill of it happening at the same time. But I take your point in that if we're really looking at serving both of those audiences well, giving them that customer experience, the attendee experience that's truly valuable, it is a daunting idea. But what do you think about the importance of having an MC, or perhaps more than one MC? Because I know that's part of what you do in those experiences.
We've had this conversation in the past. I hope, again, could be wrong, and probably will be, alas. I hope one of the lasting impacts of the pandemic from a speaking perspective is that people finally awake to the importance of having a professional MC.
Well,
yes,
we would agree with you on that.
Well, and I have worked with clients who have said that because of their virtual experience, they never will do an event without a professional MC again.
Me too.
It took a lot of the pressure off, even in a pure virtual environment, off of that meeting planner to be able to have someone else who was taking care of whatever was going on live on camera while they could just manage what was going on behind the scenes instead of having to have it be their board chair who wasn't trained in doing it, so therefore wasn't doing a great job if they had a hiccup in the road. So I am right there with you that I think that the dawning of the day of the Master of Ceremonies is what's going to come out of this for corporate and association events. I think that's true.
Hope so.
Yeah, I hope so as well. I mean, it's always a challenge. People think that they're trying to fund something extra that isn't content, and I think that's a misnomer as well. It's just as important, if not more important, to have somebody who can kind of set the stage and double click on the highlights and thread core concepts for the audience across multiple speakers. I think people who say we don't need an MC have never actually seen a good MC.
I agree.
Right.
So, I mean, really, I'm not saying that pejoratively. I just think that's literally true.
No, I think you're right. We interviewed Cindy Lowe from Red Velvet Events. It's a boutique events organization, and she had surveyed a bunch of her large company clients. She works specifically with corporations, not so much associations. And a lot of them said to her for their fall events, we want to be fully hybrid. And then she brought back, she told us on the show, the cost of doing the thing, 2 MCs, because you need a person for your at-home audience and somebody for the live audience, the cost of a great platform to be able to handle the Q&A and breakout rooms and everything that you need. And she said that many companies stepped back and went, oh, maybe we'll just do live. And if they're going to do something, they'll broadcast their keynotes because of the cost that's involved. So do you think that after we get out of this year, hybrids will kind of piddle back away to where they were before as an occasional thing?
Ooh, that was a tough question, Tom.
I think it depends on what you consider to be hybrid, right? Like you say, if we're going to live stream the keynotes, is that a hybrid event? Or is a hybrid event only if you're also live streaming breakouts and simultaneous sessions. So I think to some degree it's a question of nomenclature, but just at a very specific tactical level, if you're going to go say we've got four simultaneous breakouts, so we're going to live stream all of those into an events platform, 4 camera crews, 4 high-speed bandwidth connections at hotel prices, it's like real money. And the opportunity, of course, to sell more tickets to this larger event tuning in from home is attractive for sure, but it's not a no-brainer that pays for itself, right? So I think there's some real economics at play that are probably more important from a planner standpoint than the actual content.
Interesting. Tom, our time goes so fast when we have a great guest.
And we always have great guests.
We do.
Minutes
well, we'll have some on season 4 for sure. Tune in to season 4 for great guests. Season 3, closing out on a low note.
Season 4 is going to be awesome because we are going to talk about innovation, and I think in our meetings world, innovation is the word moving forward. So I'm excited about everybody that we've got lined up to be on the shows coming up soon. So Jay, thank you for wrapping up season 3. We really appreciate that. Any final words, Jay, that you want to share?
Everything is weird, obviously, but I will tell you that I sincerely believe that many, 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 many people are going to come out the other side of all this with a spectacularly strong business, with a fantastic situation personally. And as it relates to events, the thing I always tell our clients for whom we're doing consulting on the event side is, look, just because something's different doesn't mean it's worse. Everything in the world that we love was once different and freaky and scary. Airplanes, once different, freaky, scary. ATM machines at one point, different, freaky, scary. Rice Krispie bars, different, freaky, scary, right? Like line up all the innovations, right? Everything. First guy to eat a mushroom, first guy to drink milk from a cow. At one point, freaky, scary. Hybrid events, virtual events, new ways of doing business. Yeah, it's scary and freaky and different, but that doesn't mean it's worse. If you think that however you have to do your event because of COVID means that event will be worse, you will be right. You will absolutely be right. It will be worse if you think is worse.
Yes.
But that's on you. That is on you. You don't. It's not inherently worse. It's just different. And I've done a bunch of events, literally, where people have said, we've never done a virtual event before, but that was the best event we've ever had, live or virtual. And that's what you should strive for. Yeah.
Absolutely. Love that. If they wanted to find you because they're like, oh, I need more Jay Baer, and who doesn't? Where would they find you?
Need more? Right.
2 places. Convinceandconvert.com is our main site. We have literally thousands of articles for marketers, business owners, meeting planners about all things marketing and customer experience. That's also where you'll find our research report on events when it comes out here quickly, convinceandconvert.com. And then my site, my personal site, is jaybaer.com.
Perfect.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Appreciate it, y'all.
All right, Tom, we closed out season 3. We're going to start up season 4. We're going to skip next week.
Yep. Day after Easter. We're taking Easter Monday off.
We are, but we'll be back starting the next Monday. And we're going to go to once a week on Monday. Yep. So you continue to join us Mondays at 11 o'clock a.m. Central Time. You can find us at webinartalkshow.live. That's where we live on Facebook. And if they wanted to find out more about what we do for clients, where would they find us, Tom?
They can find out more about Eliz and I, or Eliz or I, at webinartalkshow.com.
Absolutely. Jay, thank you so much for joining us again. It was a wonderful way to wind up our 3rd season. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. Yep. See you in a couple of weeks. Thanks so much.
Bye, everybody.